Hello everyone, welcome back to Milkweeds and Roses. So many things are looking good right now, and I thought before the huge heat hits, let's do an early summer garden. I want to take you around, show you some things that are looking good, some things that maybe need a little bit of work, and maybe you can relate to that in your garden. Let's get started. To begin, I trimmed up my yew hedges here, so they do look a little bit better. But check out the Annabelle hydrangea. Here she is in all her glory. Before the intense heat of the day hits, before the rains hit, they're standing tall, looking great. And they do every morning here, first thing in the morning and also in the evening. But yeah, they don't like the intense heat of the summer in the backyard. Various pots here are taking off as well. You see the Cosmo there taking off in that nice pot there. I do change these out every year, mostly annuals. I have some hardy glads popping up on that one as well as some hydrangeas. Oh, my tomatoes growing in a bag. This is my first year for doing this, and I have two different varieties growing here. So I won't know probably for another month yet at least what the harvest will be. The basil everleaf emerald towers and also the meant to be queen nectarine agastaki. So here's the Cosmo and some glads popping up, looking good so far. Red mum in here, just a mum that I can transplant out into the actual garden bed after it flowers. The larkspur from here, red larkspur from Proven Winners, was just a disaster. I don't know what happened there. I do love this one. Isn't this gorgeous? This is a Crocosmia. It's mostly Lucifer is the variety in here, bright red flowers. Now I just moved this whole pot once the flowers are done and the season is over, before big frosts come. I just moved this entire pot with the plants into the garage because it's not hardy in this zone. But hummingbirds and butterflies, everybody loves that thing. Another one of those disastrous, I don't know what has happened to this thing this year, but it's just been attacked. It's got some type of fungus, so yeah, that's not going to work. This is another one of the chrysanthemums, which is growing. Yes, look at the old-fashioned, just deadheading some of the marigolds. I keep the seeds, and I pop these back in the pot or at other places in my garden, and it's the gift that just keeps going. So yeah, just keep these going through the year. The dianthus there, you can see that one still looks good. Now I'll pop the dianthus in my garden because it is a perennial here with the red flowers. So I'll pop that in the garden as the season goes on, and another chrysanthemum as well. Those are hardy. The dianthus and chrysanthemum. So I'll probably put them somewhere in here where they do get some sun. They can hang out by the sedge. There are some spots in this mostly dry shade garden that get some sun. The Annabelle hydrangeas there, they get enough sun, they look good. I have some other different types of varieties of hostas. That's the drinking gourd hosta there on the bottom. Hellebores, which have gone over. And check out I like this hydrangea. This is probably the best it's looked. She's been in here 3 years. I fertilized her, but she's looking good. So I like that look. And you can see why they call it drinking gourd. See how the leaves are cupped and they fill up with water. And I keep the bloom spikes here. The hummingbirds love the blooms and the nectar, and so do pollinators and bees. So I know some people do trim those down, but I like the looks of them, and they don't last long. So I clean them up once the blooms fall, but these all look fairly good. I do have some some slug issues on my hostas, but for the most part, I just kind of work some dry mulch around the bottom and hope for the best. There's my hummingbird feeder. Haven't seen many hummingbirds this year, but I still change that out once a year or once a week and try to keep that clean. Some of the hostas are fairly new in here. I have a different variety that I plant, but they're looking fairly good. taking off. Tucked around the corner there is my oak leaf hydrangea. Have yet to see any blooms on her, but I keep it going. More Annabelle back here, blooming in the shade. Looks good. Of my crabapple tree, you can see the little berries starting to form. They'll look nice, and the birds come after these. The waxwings eat them in the early spring, gorge themselves. So it's a nice mix. The hellebores there, just I like how the foliage just lasts, and so I keep that in there. I have a variety. There's an astrantia. It'll bloom in about a month, I suppose. Cleaning the leaves here. You can see some little slug damage, tiny little holes there. And they seem to gather the debris from the tree up above and just about anything else, it seems. But I try to get a variety of hostas in here with different color, different, and I plopped a Gumfrina in there. It's just an annual, but it feels like it needs a little bit of color in there besides just the green. Empress Woo is very huge. And check out what is happening here. It took me a while to figure out what is displacing all of the mulch. It's not just happening during rainstorms. Then I saw robins going in there and they just shove it around looking for bugs. So they dig through this and they make quite a mess of the mulch in here. So, but they're looking for slugs. They can continue, that's just fine. Slugs or bugs or any other things, they're good little predators, my robins, so I try to keep them happy. But Empress Woo, more slug resistant, thicker, waxy leaves. So, she does pretty well. And you can see a bumblebee hiding there in the bloom of Empress Woo. Very busy, very busy. So yeah, that's one reason why I know some people cut down the wands because they like that clean look in their garden, the wands of flowers, but I like the flowers. And look at the size of these leaves. I have some others in the variety in the background here. A daylily about to bloom, which I've moved from another part of the garden. And there is a twist and shout, the hydrangea back here. Hasn't bloomed yet. Keep fertilizing her. It's a tough haul sometimes to compete for nutrients and water in a dry shade garden. So I supplement as much as possible. So I have different roses in here where I've done the same. And it's fairly busy in here. This is the hardy geraniums, which do like dry shade and also work to attract good pollinators. I have a halcyon hosta right back here in the blue foliage. This is the columbine. I want it to reseed, so I'm just leaving it stand for the seeds to ripen. But see, inside you see those tiny little black seeds. Ants even help pollinate these things, or pollinate, or spread the seeds. So I kind of like that. I'm hoping to get more of that red and yellow columbine. I have some little plants here from my fairy garden that are growing. There's my heron decoy. And you can see the weirdest little in the background. I have a semi-naked squinny. I don't know what's up with that guy, but it's pretty smart squinny, seems to escape the dogs. More hosta, of course, blooming through here, and with the thicker waxy leaves, they tend to be more resistant to slugs. So you won't notice the slug damage here, even though it gets plenty of moisture. They just don't tend to gravitate to this spot. So it's not the heron there keeping the slugs away. And that is a native Iowa plant there, so I just kind of keep it. Some blooming daylilies, which, as the name implies, blooms only last for a day, and I snip off the spent blooms. This is a catmint, and yeah, I'll take a leaf or two and pull that inside. Cats go kind of nuts, but it smells good. It's got it's from the mint family. You can see how heavily toothed and interesting the foliage is here. But it attracts a lot of pollinators. It gets a lot taller than I thought that it would. I just put some seed down there behind my rose in the fall. We have some calla lilies that are blooming and has pretty little see-through foliage, so that's where I put that. And a variety of different plants in here, all of them annuals. I was going to hang this, but it got so heavy, I just set it on top of a pot, so to help elevate it and help with drainage, so it remains there. This is also where my houseplants get a summer vacation. They sit on the wall. The Dracaena, which I prop up on rocks to help with drainage. I don't like the pots to sit flush on top of the wall because it tends to just be a home for little bugs and things that then feed on the plants. More of the hydrangea. Don't you just love Annabelle? Looking good. This is my Chinese evergreen, another houseplant, which I have taken a summer vacation outside. This is my variety of different geranium and pelargonium garden with a weed that, probably planted by squinnies or squirrels. They just pop in there. Got to keep on top of this one. But they like the sun. They like this spot. More of my lilies, canna lilies. And I popped a hardy glad in there too. And I actually put 3 in there, but only 1 is sprouting so far. So, and I put rocks on the surface of my pots to deter the squinnies from digging. Here is a tomato plant which is growing. It's kind of sparse. My little container garden here. I imagine I'll get enough for a salad, maybe 1 salad. And this is my herb garden. I put a variety of different things in here. I try something different every year, but I like the aroma of brushing by this, and I trim them up for, salads and different things. And my husband's the cook, so I can't really vouch for how they're used, but yeah, he likes it. And more annuals in here, including some, I usually don't do a lot of those types of plants, but again, just for a spot of color, things that are growing. I've trimmed up my tomato plant here to help with air circulation and sun so the fruits can ripen. But I did notice some blossom end rot at the very bottom of that cluster. You can see it off to the left. So I trimmed those off. I've harvested what I can. I'm watching it. We'll see what happens. This is where I'm growing some little beans, little runner beans, and we'll see what I get from that one. Again, I'm new to growing vegetables. Here is where I'm growing some cacti and succulents, different things. Pot of strawberries there. I like how the flowers look on the hill. The sound of the water. This is where we spend a lot of time hanging out. Up on top of the waterfall, I have the tall Joe Pyeweed on the left. And this is Major Wheeler, which is a honeysuckle that is a little slow to grow, but she'll get there. No flowers yet, just the vine growing. The Joe Pyeweed, check that out. They like the sun, the dry conditions so far in this spot. And it came back. I planted it last year, but yeah, butterflies love that. Different things growing on the hill here. Daylilies. I have an clematis growing in here, which beautiful. That's Arabella. Blue bloom. This is the first year to bloom. Planted her last fall. And again, that's not exactly a climbing clematis. That's more of a sprawling, so I kind of attach her to the fairy there to help out a little bit. A variety of different plants in here. That's my amaryllis, which the blooms are gone, but I just serve it as a type of plant in the fall, sitting on top of my Bose speaker. But it's good to elevate it and just help it get some sun. That feeds the roots, kind of shelter from the sun. That's part of a broken little fairy sculpture there. And just cleaning this pot out. So yeah, I just let the foliage go here to feed the bulbs, and then I'll take those out in the fall. So again, another variety of different plants. Oh, that's kind of pretty. I like the color in this one. And we have different things growing in here. A campanula, new giant, which is not giant, but it's growing. I just wanted some things to cover up the dying foliage of the tulips that were planted in here. I have some more sedum growing in the back there. At least they have seed heads on this one. So that again, it's so easy to propagate those. And I have another rose growing on the very top here, which this is the first flush of blooms. I've wound it around this trellis. This is growing from a pot that I've dug into the ground here to help with a little bit of free run for the roots. And I fertilize it and see how it goes. I've got a variety of different hostas in here that have been transplanted from other parts of the garden. I like my wildlife habitat sign. I hung this. I got this certification last year. But you have to provide food, water, cover, and places for habitat for wildlife to raise their young. So we get a lot of that, both the good and the bad, in this backyard, but that's just part of it. The robins, the birds, every creature that crawls likes to come in here. They're attracted by the sound of the water. I notice the minute we turn on the water feature here, the wildlife comes. I like the way this head planter looks. Just a little begonia, common begonia there in the back with some ivy, but the resting garden lady. And again, another variety of hosta. These hostas were planted around this little garden island when we moved here, so I just don't mess with them. If they're happy, just let them be. And speaking of happy, the fish, the koi, they're tame like dogs. They swim up whenever they see me in the backyard, and they don't do this for every family member, but I'm the one who feeds them the most, so for some reason they know that. They remember that. They swim up when they see me in the backyard. And they're always hungry. It doesn't matter what I feed them. They just keep coming back. So the decoy heron is to protect them because I have had an actual heron come back here and steal a fish. That was last year. So again, more evidence that wildlife thrives. My toad lilies, they don't provide a bloom until late fall. In fact, sometimes if an early freeze will kill them before a bloom even appears. But I like the overall look of the backyard and how it's all coming together so far. So we swing around here. Here's my mock orange blooming for the first time. I've got her in a pot for now until I pick a spot and decide where to put her. My pepper plants, again, this is where the part of my backyard that gets the most sun. So again, I'm new to growing those. This is where my succulents, again, they're usually inside, but I bring them out for summer vacation, cacti and succulents. Some more annuals planted in these pots here. My wave petunias, I like the colors here coming together. And of course the sweet potato vine, which I have to trim up as the year goes on because it's a beast. If you've grown that vine, you know what I mean. It just takes over everything. So I have some lamastrium, some veronica growing here. Tiny little white bloom left over from the daylily. Remember, I moved that, but they're little tiny pips that were left over in there, and so they grow, and I let them. This is the little hydrangea that I moved to the front so we can see it when she does bloom. It's going to be a while before she blooms. Some daylilies are blooming back here. I think that's a pretty variety that I keep. I don't have the name anymore, but I love it. This is Mrs. Robert Bryden, wound around a trellis that I installed this year for the first time. Now this is more of a sprawling clematis that has tiny blue flowers that appear in usually July, early August. But she tends to sprawl all over the wall, so I wound her up so you can see the flowers this year. Another different tomato variety here. Again, I don't expect much except for maybe enough tomatoes for a couple salads or so. But boy, it's worth it. They taste better than what you get in the store. In the back, I have a tall grass. That is a Carl Forster grass, which is pretty polite. It doesn't get out of control. I like that. And in the shade of my lilac tree, different things. This is a little lime tree that I'm growing for the first time. It was less than half price at Lowe's, so I thought I'd pop it in a container and see what happens. A canna, which this was supposed to be bright colored leaves, and I'm sorry, It just looks muddy burgundy to me. I mean, I still like it, don't get me wrong, but good heavens. And this is, well, you know, the leaves of another one of those less than half price raspberry. But I will have to plant this yet. Right now it's just in the pot. I thought I'd put it right here, but see how it handles the sun. It's hanging out by my annuals, annual lavender. Check out butterfly weed is blooming. Some years I get real problems with aphids. I don't treat this because I tell you what, I just keep an eye on it, and that's when a whole flush of ladybugs show up to go after the aphids. No aphids yet. I don't see any on this plant, but it likes that spot, and so I just let her stay. A couple different clematis in here. My Tangutica, which the flowers have gone over. It gets fuzzy seed heads. I wanted it to climb clear to the top. Oh, and here is finally blooming blue light clematis. Isn't she pretty? So unusual. But I thought with the yellow and the blue blooming there, this would be kind of a nice combination. I want it to climb the whole arch, and hopefully it will every year. It's mostly polite. I don't mind it. Some daylilies, which I just deadhead. I snap the tops off once the blooms have gone over, because that helps the plant stay vigorous and healthy. And so just snap those off. They should come off pretty easily. That tiny little bud there, they're trying to grow seed, but it's healthier to just let the foliage die back naturally. I'm having anemone blooming, well, that's a dianthus peeking through anemone foliage to help it climb. This is my powwow coneflower echinacea. And yeah, here we go. I like this. My rose, keep it deadheaded. That is Gertrude Jekyll rose. Gertrude Jekyll rose. I keep it deadheaded and keep an eye on her. This is her first year. And swinging around to the back here, I have some thalictrum, which might need some fertilizer, some more daylily, and my Blue Fortune agastaki. And once this thing blooms, it is just a bee magnet. It is crazy back there. We have some astilbe. Most of them have gone over, but Coreopsis verticillata, sizzle and spice is the variety. Yeah, you know, I don't know if this one's going to make it or not. I transplanted her from last year. It's only blooming on the bottom. You know, we'll see. And we have some different varieties of hostas in here. After the rabbit attacked this little fern, I'm glad to see it coming back. Jeez, I tell you what, those young rabbits will just eat anything to try it. And this is a rhodie, new this year, so looks good. Looks good. I think she'll like this spot. I'm trying to conceal, without completely blocking, trying to conceal the air conditioner unit back there. Because does it ever look good? That's it for this tour. I want to thank you for joining me. It is so beautiful. I love how the Annabelle hydrangeas are looking right now. I know once the summer heat arrives, the full of the noon sun, and they'll definitely be showing it, they tend to wilt during the summer, and they perk back up again in the evening. So, hey, don't we all? Thanks for joining me. I hope that you subscribe to the channel. Let me know what comments you have or how things are looking in your beautiful little corner of the world. I'll see you next time here on Milkweeds and Roses.